everybody. Shell Brodnax here with Real Estate Staging Association. Thank you so much for joining me. If anybody out there could just please type in that chat box that one, you see me, and two, you can hear me. I would appreciate that. That will help me test the technology so we know that everything is working. And if I don't see anybody do it, then I just know you're all listening to me yip yapping and using my hands, and we'll figure it out shortly. So anybody at all, so happy. Anyone can hear us. Felicia, can you type in that you can see, we see and hear? Awesome. All right, we're on. I want to thank everybody. Everybody's jumping on. I'm just going to kind of go ahead and get started, but I wanted to let you know, thank you for joining. Post where you're located so everybody can kind of network here on the side chat box. And I want to welcome my very special guest, Christine Rae with Certified Staging. I'm always messing up. Certified Business Academy.
No.
Say it the whole thing.
CSP, International Staging Business Training Academy.
There
CSP
you go.
is the certification.
So one more time so everybody hears it.
God. CSP, International Staging Business Training Academy.
There you go.
Got it.
Otherwise commonly referred to in the industry as CSP.
Worse, it's Canadian CSP. Like, no, we're an international organization.
International organization, that is right. You certainly are, because let's just give a little bit of history here. So you and I go back to 2002.
2002.
God.
Almost 20 years.
Where's the time gone?
I don't know. You were a young girl, and and I was a corporate chick coming out of the corporate world for 20 odd years. I don't know, 25 years. Yep. It was a long time ago.
It sure was.
And I can't believe it. I just can't believe it.
Yeah.
The things that happened and the history that we have, how our industry's changed.
I know. And mine was 2 husbands ago. How about you? You're still on the same one. You're good. Yeah. Ari.
Yes. Did I have him then?
Yeah, you did. Yes, you did. You sure did.
I did. Yeah. I know we were talking about that the other day because we can't remember when our anniversary was. So it's like, is it 30 years or is it 28 years? Or how old were you when you first went out with me? We have no clue.
Yeah.
So it's one of the benefits of senior life.
I am familiar, but I will tell you that my husband and I have been together for 17 years. And I don't know that we've once ever remembered our wedding anniversary.
Yeah, he's not one for doing that anyway.
Yeah.
Sure. It's like, no.
So we've got people jumping on here. So this is good. People are still joining. So we hate to jump into any meat of anything. That's why we get to sit here and yip yap with each other. So everybody gets like a bird's eye until we start leveling off, and then we can get to the meat and the questions. So just so everybody knows, as you're still joining us, we're going to talk about, just industry insights. The industry's obviously it's evolved over the very many years, but boy, has it certainly evolved or devolved actually in the last 3 months with COVID-19. It's affecting everybody differently in all the different locations. RESA, we primarily service the US and Canada. We're a North American organization, and people are from all over the place. And Christine is in St. Catharines, Canada. I am in Columbus, North Carolina. And the rest of the RESA staff is in California. But we have 60 chapters over all of North America. And quite literally, from coast to coast and sea to shining sea, the regulations are different. The stay-at-home orders, shelters in places, they call them different things. Stay healthier at home, all types of different things they're calling them in the different areas. And now, as we're starting to see restrictions starting to lift, we're seeing a little bit of panic get into everybody, a little bit more of a panic. So on one hand, you've got part of the stagers, I think, that are out there saying, we want to go back to work. Somebody give us permission to go back to work. And then you've got the other ones saying, oh, no, we want permission to stay home because we don't want to go out there and working. Christine, what are you finding with the temperature where you are and people that are reaching out to you?
Well, we're still under state of emergency.
Yeah.
It's extended till, the end of the month, and they're saying it's likely going to be the end of June as well before all the restrictions are sort of totally lifted. Yesterday, was it yesterday? What day were we? Wednesday. It was the weekend.
Wednesday.
The garden centers opened, which was a big thing. and the parks and some of the conservation areas, so people can get outside. And I think that was the biggest thing, you know, for people. But in terms of work, I don't think it's any different than last week or the week before or the week before. People are managing. And I was listening to something today coming out of Australia, a guy who has a really big international organization, and he looks at trends throughout the world on every aspect of anything that you can think of. He can tell you about and where it's at. And of course, recovery from COVID, they're looking at the countries that have already done a better job in being able to, you know, get a handle on everything faster and put everybody back to safety. So somewhere like, say, South Korea, what are they seeing? And they see like massive migration to, oh my God, the restaurants are open, and everybody goes, but then it's fell flat now. It's like they needed the permission to go out, and now they're like, oh, I don't know whether it's going to be safe. And there's always that fear of that second wave that they're talking about. So I think we've got to look at reflectively, you know, how has it changed our behavior, our consumption habits, our health, you know, the way that we're going to move forward, and what protocols are we putting in place, because it will come again. It's going to be, I don't know, a year, 2 years before they have a vaccine. I don't think it's going to be a 2-minute wonder. But I had a cocktail hour with some family on the weekend, and my sister Lynn, you know, we've had her speak at RESA, and she spoke at our conventions, so I know you're familiar with her. And she read this thing out on perspective, and I think it really, I talk about perspective a lot in class. It's an amazing art, and when you try to keep things into perspective, it helps you understand where we are. And I feel that the majority of people feel like they're out of control, out of control. And the biggest issues is, you know, that your life is running on fear and lack of touch. Without a doubt, it's the fear of the unknown and the isolation. And so this, I'll just read it to you because I think it's amazing to put it into perspective. Just imagine, and some of you, it'll be really hard for you to do this, but just imagine that you were born in the year 1900. And when you are 14 years old, World War I starts, and it goes until you're 18. And 22 million people were killed. And then later, in the year that you turned 18, the Spanish flu epidemic hits the planet, and it runs until you are 20 years old. And 50 million people die in those 2 years. And perspective on that is 50 million people would be all of the people who live in all of the US top cities, like top 30 cities. All of those people are gone. Think about that, 50 million. And when you're 29, the Great Depression begins, and unemployment went to 25%, and the GDP dropped to 27%. And that continues until you're 33 years old. And the country nearly collapses along with the world economy. And when you turn 39, World War II starts. And you aren't even over the hill. When you're 41, the US is pulled fully into World War II. So between your age 39 and 45, 75 more million people perish in the war, and 6 million were killed in the Holocaust. And then the Korean War starts, and 5 more million people die. When you're 55, the Vietnam War begins, and it doesn't end for 20 years. 20 years, and 4 million people died. So now you're approaching 62, and you have the Cuban Missile Crisis, and that was a tipping point for the Cold War. Life on our planet as we know it could have ended, and great leaders prevented that from happening. And then just when you turn 75, the Vietnam War finally ends. So think of everyone on the planet born in 1900, how they survived all of that. So if you were a kid, you know, when you were in 1985, if you were a kid and you knew your grandparents, and you think they can't understand what you're going through in school, and they've lived through all of that, and they survived, and they still loved, and they still, you know, continue to have joy in their life. And I think that's the biggest thing that we have to remember is there's always been things like this. I was trying to look online and see like when was the last pandemic, and of course the Spanish flu thing always comes up, but it was actually in 2009, the swine flu.
Swine flu, you're right.
H1N1, 203,000 people died.
Globally?
We didn't have lockdown. Yeah, we didn't have the lockdown. So I think like, they do learn a bit from every single one of these situations. And that's really what the leaders are saying today. It's like, we have to learn from individually, what have we learned? Where am I going to take this forward? Because I feel that people are always looking for permission to go back to work.
Yeah.
I want to be able to stage. I want to be able to do this house. I want to be able to do that house. And it's like, is it worth dying for? Because that's the bottom line.
Yeah.
I want to help you, and I want to, everybody wants their life back, but life will never be the same. It won't.
Right. And I think moving forward too, what we're learning from this, especially as when stagers are starting to prepare to be able to go back to work, they're going to be taking different types of precautions. And I think this is long from over. And, when depending on who you watch or who you ask, statistics that are out there all over the place, your chances of getting it, is it 1 in 20,000? Is it 1 in 10,000? Is it 1 in 40,000? What's the risk that you're willing to take? It's kind of like that example that I heard, you have, a bowl of your almond M&Ms and, they're all in there, but 3 of them are poisoned. Would you still want one? It's like, these are all these things that we're all going to have to decide for ourselves, and what it is that we're all willing to do. What kind of risk are you willing to take? But then again, especially if you're under state orders, you've got to follow the guidelines. And I know we have heard of little pockets of geography where the guidelines were that they were shut down and people were still out staging, which is very disheartening, especially when you're an industry, and it's especially as one as us, because we're so tight knit. You know what I mean? It's like, let's come together, unification. We want to be one as an industry and drive something forward. Granted, everybody's certainly free to their own individual opinions, but when you're under the law not to do something and you're deciding to break that law, and you are definitely putting those profits before safety, and especially what that does to your industry on the local level, that's it's very unfortunate that we've heard that.
Yeah. Well, you can see the questions that are coming in that it's just like, but what about stop the spread? And that is why they're saying the longer you can be at home, there is a restriction. Like we know, like for us, I was going to say our president, our prime minister said, we're not going to open the border to come into the US or vice versa there. And it looks like towards the end of June, they're going to reevaluate that, because you guys were hit so hard, so much more than we have. But we have a smaller population than you do. And the majority of cases are in the big city of Toronto, Quebec, but if you look at where are they coming from and what's causing it and its connection to people, you don't know, you could be asymptomatic, right? Where you don't know that you have it and you're the carrier. Yeah. And, so you've got to, we had this conversation on Saturday, because I'm like, okay, so you're my sister and husband, and you've been in isolation for 2 months, and I've been in isolation for 2 months, and you don't have it and we don't have it. So let's get together, the 4 of us, and have dinner. And the lecture was long from Lynn about this, because she had it nailed down. And I'm like, she's like, you just don't know, because you could have picked up the mail and it could have been on the envelope. And you don't know that you have it. You can pass it, right? Yeah. So I don't know. It is the way I'm looking at it, and I say to our membership is, if you had 100 days where you have more time than you've ever imagined that you would have available to you to work on your business, have you worked on your business? Yeah, I know. I'm in the same boat. I'm in a panic in case everything goes back, and I haven't had any time off yet. But
I'm waiting. I'm sitting here looking at all these people. I'm so bored. What's on Netflix? And I'm just like, I wish I could Netflix and chill, but I can't, because I'm trying to read all the state orders and get the information.
I get it. I know. It's funny, but it isn't funny, But we'll see. And I think, with the what was it I saw the other day on Facebook in Holland, they were doing waterside restaurant, and they put little greenhouses over every table.
Yes.
So you were in a little greenhouse. And that's brilliant. So people are coming up with brilliant ways to help, like everybody wants a haircut. Well, I saw somebody doing them in the parking lot, so it was like enough distance to get outside, get fresh air. And I was thinking about that for staging as well, because it is one of the things that I always do when we go in with a class is open up all the windows, because you get a group of people, all together in menopause and we all get hot. But it's the air quality in the building that's usually really bad.
Right.
So, letting the air come in is something that's supposed to be helpful, and sunlight is good for you.
Yep. And I know, let's switch gears. So if those areas where staging was deemed essential, or they've opened up a little bit, the still at the very minimum is that all the areas are asking you to practice your social distancing, and then also following, it's kind of like an addition onto the basic minimum functions, like get in, get out, do what you need to do, bring your disinfectants, get your hazmat suit off the Amazon.com. I'm sure they've got a Prime delivery out there for that, but get whatever it is that you need to do. But then the other thing that you have to think of is how are you willing and are you able to extend all of those precautions to your staff? Because let's say it's lifted and but it's, do you really want to go back yet? Or, they've lifted certain things where you can do, and you take your staff in, and then on the way you stop at the mini mart and you fuel up on fuel, and somebody passes and a sneeze is exchanged, and then something happens and then they get sick, or they go into a home and they get exposed by something and they're sick. So these are all these things that we have to think about nowadays. The world is very litigious. People could sue anybody for any reason at all. So these are things that, I know we've sent information out about this. We have the RESACon. We've now turned that into a virtual event. Information coming soon. It's going to be to die for. You're going to love it. But we have one of our attorneys that we work with in California, who's been a great resource on just all things where it comes to workman's comp and COVID-19 and the AB5 bill out in California. So she'll be talking about these things as well. We're also going to have a panel about it as well. There's just so much going on, but you just have to make your own decisions. Unfortunately, we can only bring so much information to you. We can't tell you what you can and can't do. We can give you some best practices and some things to think about so you can make your own decisions. And
we've talked about this over this past month, is that people were doing remote staging or virtual staging, with the technology that's available, and helping a seller that needed to sell. They were creative in the way that they brought the packages to the client. Oh my gosh, look.
GraceAnn. Okay, I think we can't hear you. So maybe turn up your mic.
So those things are still happening. And I think, sanitation is going to be a big issue before you go into an occupied space. But I know that there are stages who are doing occupied. They're just putting some restrictions around. The house has to have been empty for a period of time, and they're taking all the protocols for themselves with the mask and the gloves and the booties, and they've decided to go ahead with it. That's the way it is. Yeah. But essentially, we're still on lockdown.
Yeah, for sure. So everybody, if you've noticed, we have a new guest. This is GraceAnn Simoni from Illinois. Can you say something, Grace?
Can you hear me now?
You need to turn up your volume.
Okay. Can you hear me?
No, not really. It sounds so faint.
Well, my volume's way up. Sorry.
Keep going.
That. Better?
Not really. Oh no. Technology.
I know.
Well, they're doing that.
Networking meetings, but
no, now you went in a little bit. I think you're
okay.
Maybe you have to lean in.
Or if you have a headset, you can use a headset.
It's broken.
Okay, there you go. Well, thank you for joining us. So we've talked just a little bit about what's going on with staging related in COVID-19. So now we were just kind of going to segue over to remote consultations. Have you done any remote consultations, GraceAnn, in your own business?
Well, first of all, I want to compliment the discussion before I was listening, and what an analogy that you gave. It was amazing. Depressing, but amazing. But I, as like you, I've also lived through most of that. I have done a few remotes. They've been successful, but there haven't been many. I've also done some remote color consulting. And that's been really good because my rep, both my Sherwin-Williams and my Benjamin Moore rep, are willing to overnight paint samples.
Oh, very cool.
So then I can get on the Zoom or a phone the next day, and it's almost like being there. You know, they can put the paint samples up that I suggested, and then we downsize to the perfect 2.
Yeah, that's awesome. So I know a lot of people are starting to do the remote consults where they are doing them a couple different ways. So I'll go over for anybody who's listening, watching. Photos, sending in photos. So one of the ideas is give your client instructions to take pictures from every corner of the room to be able to send them in. And then you can go over them one at a time. You can write a written report, or you can give them a call to be able to do that. I'd probably call them. Written reports take so long to do. And then the other is by video. So FaceTime, Zoom staging, big. Lots of people are using Zoom to be able to do that as well. And just, you know, walking them through the house and doing that. I actually did that with a color consultation about a year and a half ago, right before I sold my home. Sandra Race actually helped me with that. I messed up really bad. Always get a color consultation, even with your own stuff, because that was a costly mistake. I had to paint more than once. It's not good. Not good at all. But she fixed it, so that was nice. And then so you just do it verbally and through video, and it's making a big difference. I've seen some pictures. I'm trying to write an article about this concept. And what do you both think? Do you think this will catch on and stay after COVID-19 as a viable additional service option for stagers? Christine, what do you think? Do you think people are still going to do it?
I think they will, because I think they'll still be living in fear. I do. I think I was going to say, how would you do a color consult? Not in person, but if you're doing it through Zoom, it's a lot easier, I'm sure. But I'm looking at some of the questions that have come in, and Karen McMillan is saying, and she lives in Ontario, so I'd be interested to know where this came from, because this is something I've not heard. And she's saying that the province has said we can go back to regular operations when they've just opened the parks. I haven't heard that. So
May 19th, she's saying with proper PPE and physical distancing. Interesting.
Yeah.
Hey,
So,
Karen, can you post in the comments where you received that information? I know you said you were told by the province. Was it a phone call, or do you have something in writing you can link to us? And if you do have something in writing, maybe you can pop it in an email to both Christine and myself. That would be really helpful.
And like Paula's comment is really good too. You know, if you're going into property when the carpet cleaners have been in and the housekeepers are in the day before staging, there's going to have to be a time lag there, 3 days without somebody in. So that's going to be a challenge for all of us.
Yeah, I would, that's true. Because yeah, that's the last thing that you want done before you stage.
I'm wondering, and I just popped in my head, but the people who are really good at this sort of thing are sort of fire restoration companies. So if you had, you know, a fire in a house, they would come in and they have great machines and they have great products that they utilize so that it gets rid of that. I'm wondering if they're looking at the sanitation aspect of things, because although I have to think about Richard Klein when he said, you know, one person going in there and on all the sanitation's gone wrong. There's got to be something that we have to do to be able to protect ourselves on a wider scale than just nobody's been in the house for 3 days.
Yeah, what Richard's point was, it's like it's either sterile or it's not. So once you touch something, you can have a sterilized packet. Once you open it and touch even the corner of it, the entire thing is no longer considered sterile. It's the same thing with testing. You know, even with testing, you can test one day, you're going to test negative. The next day, you're going to test positive. And then again, in the house, you come in, you might sanitize that house, but if that sanitation worker that's cleaning that house has been exposed, and they're still in there and they cough on the way out. Who knows?
Oh God, I know.
I know, I just make it worse.
I saw one of the people saying that they're from Texas and nobody's looking, nobody's checking. And I know in Canada, they're hiring more and more inspectors to do those checks. So whereas they used to just be like food inspection, restaurants, they're going to be checking on hairdressers, they'll be checking on other aspects.
Yeah. So Jennifer's asking a question, why wouldn't people use gloves? Well, here's the thing. Gloves, this is what I don't understand. Gloves, if a germ is a speckle of paint and I have gloves on and I touch it, the germ is still on the glove. If I touch my face, it just went on my face. Same thing when they're putting the plastic over the ATM machines. I'm horribly confused by that. It's like you go to the grocery store and to put in your PIN number now, it's like they put plastic over it. It's like, why are you doing that? Because do germs not stick to plastic? Yeah. I mean, I don't understand the logic, but they do that too.
I've been taking a sanitary wipe with me and I put it over my finger when I have to do that.
Yeah, I can see that. That makes sense.
That makes sense.
If you can find the wipes.
Yeah, well, actually, yeah. I had a good stockpile because when I have students, they all get a container of like Perel wipes. And so I have a few extra. So there's one in my car, there's one in my office, they're everywhere. So I'm in good shape.
Yeah.
You just got a whole bunch of people emailing you to be your best friend now.
I know.
Yes, probably.
So I almost had to have Yolanda email me toilet paper because there's literally no toilet paper where I live.
I don't understand that. What do they think's going to happen? We're all going to get diarrhea or something? I don't get it.
I don't know, but there was also no bananas. I mean, I don't watch the news. I can't take it. I can't emotionally handle. I'm not emotionally stable enough to handle the news plus the staging industry. So one of them's got to go. So I don't watch the news at all, and I just kind of gloss over it. I get about a 5-minute update from my husband every single day. But he was saying, "Yeah, the stores are empty," and I'm like, "Of course they're not empty. That's just pshaw." And I went to the grocery store that week, and I was like, we got no bananas, people. Well, what is the thing on the bananas? The entire bananas, the chicken was gone. They put frozen soup in where the chicken was to make it seem like they weren't out of it, which they weren't fooling me. I don't know if they were fooling anyone else in South Carolina. They might. Well, South Carolina, they might. So at any rate, it's one of those things that it's like, why are everybody stockpiling? But I can't find Lysol, wipes, toilet paper, nothing like that.
You get it on Amazon. But Karen's answered your question in terms of the plastic over the ATM machine, because they clean the plastic then after everybody's used it. They're sanitizing the plastic, and so it doesn't get into the machine.
No, they're not sanitizing between people where I'm at.
You're on that? They're just telling you.
We have shields now between the cashier and the people coming through. There's a plastic shield.
Yeah.
I don't really see how that helps when, they're touching all your groceries and then you're touching all your groceries.
That's why you got to wipe all your groceries off when they come in. Which I sanitize. I spray Airy first when he comes in, and then I make him wipe all the groceries down as well. Because
just start feeding me through a tube. All right. I'm just good.
So have you made any changes to your contracts? That's I had analyzed, and we've definitely added a segment to the contract. Anybody else done that?
Yeah, let's talk about that in the chat box. Anybody's updating your contracts, or what other things have you done during some downtime? The COVID-19 addendum has been tremendously helpful. Well, thank you, Lisa Sella. We appreciate that. Gail Dunnett from San Francisco had sent that to us. I think Joanne O'Donnell. I know where is Joey. Joanne had sent that to us. A couple other people sent it to us. The one from CAR is an example. And then we had a RESA legal team write one specifically for staging. So we're glad that that's been helpful.
Yeah.
And also for all of you who are RESA members, the RESA Sure program is a new program that we just launched in partnership with Villanova Insurance Brokers. And so in the US right now, we don't have it available for Canada, unfortunately, but anywhere in the US, any state that you are located, that if you sign up for that particular program, you can get a contract review, or if you're new and you need a contract, They'll look at all your risk management, and there's a contract that can be provided to you to get you going. So check that out if you haven't done that yet.
So, Shell, do you want to look at Chris DeLaGuardia's question?
Hi, Chris. Let's see. Chris, what the current thoughts are on staging industry moving forward as whatever the new norm is going to look like. Retail is very strong right now due to online sales. B&M stores are opening up a lot around the country, and there is pent-up demand for consumers as everyone is working out of the home and seems the need to make investments and improvements to their homes. How is staging community reacting to this, and how do you all feel an opportunity to take advantage of this climate that may exist? How could or will this change staging in the direction to drive revenue? Great question. Lots of points there, Chris. I actually think staging is going to boom. I think that because states are opening up, and quite honestly, I think we're all agreed they're opening up just as far as timeline is concerned early. I mean, when they say things have been shut down for 2 weeks or 4 weeks, it's relatively a small amount of time, I think, to really squash it out. I don't think it's going to be squashed out. So I think there's probably going to be peaks in places that pick up, but where they're not, staging, I think, is going to boom. And I don't think that this is going to be a long enough time of being downtime in people's businesses to wipe out a ton of stagers. I think maybe some very, very new people might have to put it on hold or try to get back into it at another time. I don't think a lot of people are going to go flat out of business over it. What do you two think?
I have changed some of my thought process. I specialize in enhanced occupied homes and color, but I've been on a lot of networking Zoom meetings. Mm-hmm. And so I asked my fellow, business women, what is bugging them the most about their home since they've been stuck in it. And I ask them if they send me an email, I will send them my 3 top tips of what they can do themselves. And one of them is taking all the artwork out of your home, out of the rooms, and not putting it back in the same place. And so I've been getting some interesting comments. Their rooms are now crowded. There's no function in the room. The colors are off. And so I'm gathering all this information and putting it out there as, I can still help with that. I have a client, we're shopping. I mean, we're doing a lot of internet shopping, which is somewhat time consuming, but we've been shopping on the internet and, talking via Zoom. And I think it's working. Whether it's going to continue that way when this is over, mm-hmm. I don't know. I'm a people person, so I love to interact with people. So I would hope that this wouldn't be the new trend, like the easy way out, like it's going to be cheaper, because I don't think it should be.
Oh, I don't think it should be cheaper. Let me say this right now to maybe make very super clear, everybody. If you are doing these remote consultations and you are charging less money because an agent said to you, oh, so it's going to be less money because you don't have to travel, right? No, they're paying for your expertise. They're not paying for your travel time. So
in some ways it might take longer because it could involve more than one phone call.
Exactly.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
Legit, straight up. So Christine, do you think this is going to decimate a large number of staging businesses, or do you think the majority will survive?
I like to think I'm a positive mind thinker. So, 90% of your mindset today is to keep on the positive side of where life could go. But if you look at what Lawrence Hugh is saying, the chief economist for National Association of Realtors, it's forecasted that there'll be a boom in real estate sales as people who needed to sell will get on board. They will want to have their property staged. And if it's taking longer to do it remotely, they'll want you in the house. So I think there was a really good question here from Jill, like, do you need staging insurance if you're only doing occupied virtual staging without supplying any decor?
Yes, you do.
Yes, you do. You need insurance, absolutely. If you're running a business, you need insurance.
And you're still in their home, whether you're enhancing it with your product or you're using what they have, there's still a risk factor. So you definitely need the insurance.
Well, she was meaning for a virtual consult, a remote consult.
Oh, well.
Yes, but it's still your information.
Your
right?
information.
You're
a professional.
That's right.
Let me go jump back to Chris DeLaGuardia's question. So Chris, I know we're looking at this. My insight on your question is that I think that it's kind of going to be the same across the board as typically everything is with stagers. So you're going to have your staging businesses that are, your full on larger scale, lots of employees. They've been able to take a financial hit. They've got money in the coffers, and they will be preparing for the boom. So they are probably going to be out buying inventory on their regular schedule, just because they do it every single year, and they're going to kind of wait this out. And then I think you're going to have, your entry level stagers, or maybe your mid to lower end stagers. When I say lower end, I don't mean quality. I mean volume, large of businesses that are probably going to be a little bit more gun shy to make purchases, just because their financial resources aren't as deep of pocket as the other type of stager. So I think the same thing's going to follow. I think people are going to start buying. I do believe we're going to have a boom. I think there's going to be more business than ever. I think people will probably end up doing a lot of remote consultations just as an additional service level. Whether you have COVID-19 or not, you can always do an in-person. You can always do a written. You can always do the verbal, traditional, what you call the walk and talk. And you can also do the remote consult now. So there's no reason to stop doing them. If it's something that you find that works for you, make it just another way to be able to connect with your particular client, if that's what you want to do.
Well, look at how many people dropped off in 09 and 10.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
One of the positives was a lot of the real estate agents that were in the business for fun, sell one house a year and that's your vacation kind of attitude.
Yeah.
On. And so what was left were the serious business-minded realtors. And so, and a lot of stagers thought they should do when they definitely should not have, because if you waited it out, it was fine. And then there were more business-related realtors calling stagers because they needed value, not the ones that were doing it for fun that said, oh, I can do it all by myself. So I think it'll kind of weed out the non-players.
Yeah, I agree.
The answer is yes. I thought Marsha Webster was a good point. Do you want to?
Oh, yeah. She's saying layoffs and furloughs, the disposable income isn't there for redesign. Consumer confidence is impacted since we don't know the fallout. Just have to keep positive and push forward. But that's the reality of it all, which is true. And I think, too, I just think, the furloughs, and I think it's probably hit every profession out there. I mean, it's everything that I at least have seen on television, just from social media. My interaction is everybody I know is somebody affected by it in some way, shape, or form.
But redesign, if you start with what they already have, I think it's a booming way to get everybody feeling better about their home, where they live, their surroundings, and it's using what they have. So it's really no, additional purchases until they want to make it from their wish list.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think she was talking about the fee to do it right now because they're laid off or whatever. They don't have the disposable income invest in like a redesign right now. I like a redesign. I'd like a design plan. I'd just be happy with a design plan, not even a redesign plan.
Well, we always find money for things that are important.
I was just going to say that, there's money out there. People have money. And if they want that fabulous dream, even, you're just creating the dream. And if they're saying, well, even when I work and I know what I need to buy for that bedroom, whose dog's barking all the time?
I'm so sorry. It is mine, and I'm in the basement. She is upstairs, and we have big, giant dump trucks and excavators moving around out front. And my husband opened the door.
All right.
So sorry.
I just saw a different question there as well that came in. Natalie's point is good. I thought that everybody needs to up their game.
Yeah, true.
More professional. And I think, trying to find reasons to, no disrespect to the lady who asked the question, but do I really need insurance? Do I really need to be doing this? Yes, to all of that. Oh, I know what it was. Somebody had asked about doing vacant. She's going to do her first vacant in person, and wanting to know what would be the protocols to do that. So read the addendum. That's written there for you. It's really written there for you. I'm trying to find where that other question was for you.
Here's a question. If you're doing a remote consultation, says if you don't have insurance, well, your insurance might not cover you.
Oh yeah, that's it.
Yeah, you definitely, if you are operating a professional business, professionals have insurance. That's one of the defining factors when you separate somebody who's operating as a hobby versus somebody that's operating as a profession. You have to have insurance. It's just like having a phone number or a sign on your business. Those are these bare minimum things that everybody that needs. So strongly suggest you get the insurance if you don't have it, for sure. Amy's saying she's never had clients say on contract for consults, only for stagings or design services. Do you know anybody who asked for a contract signature on a consultation?
No, but since I'm doing it remotely, I schedule the consult after I receive a payment.
For sure.
Client. I mean, if it's from an agent that I've been working for, I usually invoice them, sometimes monthly. But if it's a client, they send me a check first and then we schedule it.
Yeah, let's talk about that just for a nanosecond here. Any stager in general, COVID-19 or not, if you are not getting paid prior to doing the job, I really want you to look at that, because it should be a minimum of a 50% deposit when you book, and then the balance before you stage. And depending on, how far out it is, it might be, if you want to get on a schedule for this Friday and it's Monday, then collect the whole balance up front. Don't bother with the deposit because it's within a 5-day period, but you should be getting paid up front.
Yeah. The consult, I asked for the full amount.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
Well, the recommendation is all of it is up front, not just the consult, but also the showcasing part of it too.
Yeah. Yep, for sure. Any other questions that we can answer, whether a little bit COVID related or maybe a little bit off or a little bit of a hybrid? We're happy to do it. We usually let these go for about 1 hour. So anything else that you two want to bring up? We're heading into our last 15 minutes.
I would like to ask, do you as stagers attend other networking events that have other people besides stagers? Because I find that attending networking events, and whether it's a all-female group or whether it's men and women, you're getting the word out, and the more you show up, the more they're going to know you. So there are on Meetup, there's a lot of ways to network and do it via Zoom. You get to tell your little story, your 30-second commercial, and I was so surprised at how many people asked me for my email address and have emailed me from my networking groups.
So if anybody, go ahead.
One national group, it's called WESOS. It's Women Entrepreneurs Secrets of Success. It's a national group, but we also have chapters all over the country. So if you went on to WESOS network on Meetup, you'd find all the chapters. And I found it's been very rewarding. Meeting other women in business, plus getting to tell them what you do.
Right.
Very good. Christine, can you take the next question? I'm going to run upstairs and kill the dog real quick, so hold on.
Okay, so the questions are coming in so quick, it's hard to keep up with them. I'm looking at them from here, but Amy Bly, has anybody asked for an extension of insurance since we haven't been working for 2 months or so? And I can't answer for the US particularly, but I've had conversations in depth with our carrier, and the answer is no, there isn't an extension. They're not going to lower the payments. They're not going to stop the payments. If you cancel your insurance because you're not working and then revise it when you go back to work, there's no guarantee that you're going to get the same rate. That's what I was told. So, GraceAnn, this is also a good one for both of us to look at, from Deb Garvin. Right now, there's some fluidity or gray areas as our state is slowly opening up, leaving many stagers wondering if they can start doing some vacant staging where there's no face-to-face client contact. At the beginning of the pandemic, the initial response to RESA's national inquiry from the state of Minnesota only allowed for destaging. But can we have RESA's national make another inquiry to see if vacant staging might be allowed in light of things starting to open up? This is a shell question, sorry. There's been some frustration about non-RESA stages defying the governor's orders and providing vacant staging, but our stages want to do what's lawful. So you've answered your own question. You do what's lawful.
Right. And so what I would have to ask, because I can't follow every single state's orders, what I would ask you to do, Deb, is see what your new orders state. So we sent out an email to our members March 30th, I have to count, March 30th, with the orders that we received from the state. So if your state has sent out new orders that were created after March 30th, if you send me the link to the actual order from your state website, I can read that order, see what has changed, and then we can let everybody know. Alternatively, you can read the order on your own and see if it says that anything else has been opened up as well, and then we can also submit. Send it to me via email. Happy to do it.
Very good. So Martha's asking, how do you handle a real estate agent asking for a discount after the initial term is about to end? The agent is asking for a discount to continue the staging since she has not been able to show the property. And I think you've answered that a couple of times in the preceding sessions we've had. I know that people have, or stages have said, you know, if they're not working during the COVID situation, everybody's in isolation, then they've not charged the client for their rental. They've left it in place, haven't taken it out. Have you dealt with that directly, GraceAnn?
I don't do vacants anymore. I only do occupieds. But from what I understand from some of the questions that I've received from people that I've taught, is that they are willing to give them a grace period of like 2 weeks. You know, basically a discount for 2 weeks, mainly because they don't want to go in and get it out anyway. You know, they want to stay safe.
Yeah.
Yeah. So here's something to think about, because I know I saw this online and there's a lot of different opinions. So the question basically is, you've got your inventory out, you're on a regular rental agreement. Now your client is saying, hey, I haven't been able to show the house. I have no showings the last couple of weeks because we can't due to COVID-19. Either comp me the 2 weeks, waive my fee, give me a discount, any combination of it. And stagers are handling these types of incidences, you know, differently across the country. But here's one thing to consider. We get that it's everybody's bottom dollar, but also goodwill goes a long way and it comes back to you tenfold. So before I saw a lot of stagers saying, you know, dig in and it's your contract and you deserve to be paid, you know, and it was iron fist type of a thing. I get it. Under normal circumstances, yeah, normal circumstances, you want to enforce your contract. You don't want to give discounts. Those are all, you do deserve to get paid. But when it's something like this, undoubtedly, the universe is watching everybody. And what I can tell you is this: give some good grace to some people who you feel deserve it. Granted, you have the ability to pick and choose who you extend that grace to and under what circumstance it is that you do. But if you flipped it around and there was a situation where you wanted to get a discount, a refund, something along those particular lines from somebody else and they didn't want to give it for whatever their reason was, how would you feel about it? So it's just one of those things I want everybody to know. Pay it forward when you can. You know, if it's something that, if it's something you can do, pay it forward. It doesn't cost you anything to pay it forward a lot of times. You're just not getting paid.
Positive energy goes a lot farther than negative energy. And so offering that, I mean, I think you're developing a good PR relationship. Not for discounts every time.
I just want to comment on the insurance. There's a couple of people saying that they've called their insurance person and they have extended it out for payments. They've gotten reductions. So I think you have to do it on an individual basis then. But there's a couple of people asking for answers on Cecily Schneider's comment. If it's a consult in the home, would you now have a client seller sign something to say that you're entering the property, and you would have them sign something about no temperature, no contact with anybody with COVID, you haven't traveled outside of the area in the last 2 weeks? I absolutely would.
100%.
Realtors here are using precaution, face masks, booties, gloves.
We sent out an addendum that I believe covers this.
All of that, yeah.
Yeah, it's a good question. GraceAnn, there is a question for you. How come you, if you don't mind asking, since it's very personal, how come you don't do vacants anymore?
I'm too old.
I didn't expect you to say that.
I want to teach more. I want to do occupieds. I want to mentor, and I just don't get the fun out of vacants anymore. So I guess I pick and choose. As I get older, I do what I want to do.
There you go.
There you go.
And there you have it.
Plus, I had a new hip.
No, Karen.
So, I'm kind of restricted anyway.
We still need to onboard you just on a personal thing for your instructor, so we can get you teaching classes once everything's lifted.
Yes.
Thank you, Lisa Sella. I appreciate that. You're welcome, Wendy. Karen McMillan's asking, Christine, do you know if Jones Deslauriers, I can never pronounce that name, has reduced any premiums?
They have not. They have not. What about Sandra Mills? For those using furniture rental firms with vacant stagings, the delivery people will not step over the threshold. So to destage, all of the furniture needs to be moved outside. And they're letting you do that? Wow.
Interesting. Sandra, I had not heard that yet. So I'm actually wondering, with the vacant stage, well, right now, nothing was really going on. So I was going to say, when all this started, I'm just curious to know, has anybody else found that during this crisis? Because I haven't heard anything, like court hasn't reached out to us to let us know of any big changes or anything like that. That's interesting.
I mean, ultimately, you're going to push it out to all of your ancillary services to say, what are you doing to protect, to this point? And what are you guys doing to protect to this point? And then you can take care of your own little spot. Right?
Yeah.
Fury. But that's a good point.
That's interesting, because you would think that they'd also, it's a little bit of liability if you're asking somebody else now to move your inventory. That's their furniture. They own it.
And it's heavy. That's why you have them. Bring it.
You have them.
That's why you have them. Yeah.
Sounds like a logistical nightmare to get everybody coordinated to do their little part.
Yeah. So I'm just wondering if that's a local issue or if people are seeing that nationally. Because I can't imagine they do that on a national.
Yeah.
Because as you think about that, most of the third-party rentals they do a lot of relo. They're not going to do that on the relo side of things. And moving services have been deemed as essential, so they would follow under that because they're delivering. That's interesting. Very interesting. We're coming up to the end of our time. We've got about 5 minutes left. So ladies, I just appreciate you taking the time out of your day. I know we've been doing these weekly updates, so I think we hit new people every time that we do this. It's certainly, this just changing by the minute, by the day. Nobody knows what's happened, if we're coming or we're going. But one thing we do know is that we are definitely all in this together, and we will recover. We will get through it. As Christine, I know you gave a great example in the beginning about how much we've already been through the last 100 years alone of what the globe has been through. And we do recover, we do bounce back. That's what people do.
Keep baking, babies. Keep baking. Baking cakes, making bread.
Well, I've been a lot of things out. My son came from Utah and then got stuck here. So we've been doing a lot of cleaning, all my inventory and the garage, and he's got me moving all the time. So I'm getting a lot accomplished.
Yeah. Well, like I said earlier, I am extremely envious of all the people with so much time on their hands. Not so much. I wish I could Netflix and chill and have a cocktail, but this does not allow me to do this at all. In fact, this actually for RESA, just as an organization, we've had to put a temporary hold on our MCE program because we just don't have the resources to be able to service our instructors like we need to because of COVID-19. So canceling RESACon, having to rethink just everything it is that we're doing right now in order to support all of our members and all of the chapters. And there's just so much going on. So we appreciate all of our leaders. Let me tell you, we have got the best group of leaders on the planet. Been with a lot of membership organizations over the years. We're patterned after Women's Council of Realtors. And this reminds me so much of my WCR days where people really do band together and people really do care. So we appreciate everybody's support. Any final words, Christine?
No, I'm just looking at all of these questions here. The answers about the delivery, that the delivery companies are simply adding their own protocols. Some of them are delivering it to the store, to the door, and some of them are actually bringing it inside.
Interesting.
But I would agree with you. I really do think that we are in a great position. Our professionalism has grown tremendously over the past decade, but particularly over the past 5 years. I think that you'll see more and more need. I think there'll be a tsunami of need for stagers, and we all need to be operating at 2 degrees higher than where you already are, because that's where we're going up. And this is water. It's not gin and tonic, even though I look like I've got alcoholic flush going on. I don't know where that's come from, but it's not. It's water. Water.
Pepsi.
Yeah,
That's on my plate.
Iced tea.
Iced tea.
Iced
Oh,
tea.
Mary's telling me to have a cocktail. Yeah, gosh, I wish I liked cocktails. I've lost my taste for alcohol over the years. I just can't find one that I really dig anymore.
Oh,
I know.
I love margaritas.
You have no idea what a drag it is. You have no idea. It's such a drag. Any final words, GraceAnn?
I just want to give anybody, just think about the future and quit dwelling on this and get outside, take a walk. I've been walking 2 to 3 miles a day, and it's done wonders for my attitude. Just think of the positives. I mean, you have your family's safe, your dogs are safe. Just think positive, because we can't lay around and mope and groan and cry. It's not going to get us anywhere.
Yeah.
No, and the thing always happens that you really believe in, and it's belief in the thing that makes it happen. And so what goes on in here is what happens in your life. And that lady that just sent that question there that's private, Martha, the answer is absolutely not. The answer is absolutely not. Absolutely not. Cardboard furniture. We've been down that road too many times.
Yeah.
All right.
Yep. All right. Well, everybody, thank you
It won't be.
so much for you both taking time out of your schedule to be with us. Everybody else that's still on, thank you for taking time out of your afternoon to be with us as well. Stay tuned for more industry insights. This is a special edition of a 10-week program circulating around staging and COVID-19. Stay tuned for more information about the Home Staging Industry Awards and as well as the virtual RESACon information coming very soon. Thanks again, everybody. Until next time. Ciao.
Bye.